Welcome to Star Wars Timeline. Today is Friday, and I'm continuing my tradition of watching and reviewing Star Wars The Droids show, the same one that you have guys recommended to me. I had no plans or intentions of watching it, and I'm keep getting surprised by it. Anyway, before we jump into our review, please be warned, this is a spoiler review, okay? I'm gonna talk about the story, the characters, and so forth. If you haven't seen it yet, please turn away now, watch the episode, and then come back and you can watch my opinion on this, what I've been reviewing so far. I will also leave the links in the description below where you can watch each episode review that I have seen up to this point. Anyway, let's jump into it. Episode 6 is called The Pirates of Tamoonga. And right away, when I read the word pirates, especially in the children's-oriented cartoon, I expect a lot of fun, I expect just like mayhem, and an episode that doesn't take itself too seriously. So we start off with R2-D2 and C-3PO, along with their returning friends John and Jess, who are helping King Julpa transport fuel they desperately needed for their planet, for their fighters, in order to protect themselves. And right away, I gotta say, I was happy to see Jess come back, because we've seen her briefly in the previous episode. She's in the cantina, she helps the guys get away, and she was such a striking and interesting looking character that I said, I would like to see a little bit more of her, and thankfully she returns. So the team is attacked by the pirates. As they're transporting the fuel on this barge, there's this illustrious pirate Kaibo Rencha, who is basically taking over the ship, and a great space combat battle takes place, and then the pirates obviously take over the barge, they take over our friends. And what I really enjoyed about that scene, first and foremost, is that the episode opens up pretty much with a bang. And when we start watching those ragtag team of pirate ships attack our friends, right away it brought back thoughts and like memories of earlier Legends books that I used to read that featured a lot of different pirates. And usually when they would describe them in the books, they would always like describe the fleet of ragtag ships that are not similar to one another and all look different and crazy with like very colorful paint jobs. And that's what we get here. We see like a TIE fighter, we see some other unrecognizable new model ships, and of course the good guys are, one of them is piloting the A-Wing. So just a variation of different ships and really well animated action sequence in space already cemented this episode like, okay, this is fun, I'm invested. And again, this is coming from a fan who had zero expectation in this show. I said, I'm not gonna like it, it's very kids oriented, what possibly can be there for me. And I was once again surprised by this episode with a strong action sequence, and there's actually a premise to it that a planet desperately needs this resource in order to protect itself from the Empire or from the bad guys. So the friends are taken hostage, and now we go to the planet of Tamoonga. And I have to say, when we land there and when the rest of the episode takes place on the planet's surface, this is by far the best looking episode, at least for me. I really enjoyed the exotic location. I really loved the colorful palette, and something that we almost never see in Star Wars, certainly not before the Star Wars Clone Wars show comes out, is underwater scenes and action. Of course, we get to this point where the Captain Kaibo, he's swaggering around. He basically wants to dispose of John because he no longer needs him, and they want to sacrifice him to the sea monster, which surprisingly looks like Loch Ness monster for some reason, something recognizable. Once again, pirates, dinosaurs. It makes perfect sense if you're a kid. If you're an adult watching this show and you're trying to make sense of things and try to rationalize them, you're in the wrong show, basically. It's designed for kids. It's designed to be a visual eye candy. It's just a treat and escapism and have fun, which is basically the filter through which I'm watching this show, and that's why I'm having so much fun. Zero expectation, and I know it's going to be all silly and crazy fun, and believe it or not, here comes a dinosaur. But I gotta say, the Jabba the Hutt similar kind of barge that they use, that we see in the Return of the Jedi, that brought it home for me. That was like a cool Easter egg for an old school original saga fan. That's where I started from. I'm like, okay, I know we're still populating and living in the Star Wars world. So the barge was pretty awesome to see. So basically they're trying to sacrifice John, as I said, right? And, he drops off the platform. He goes down. The droids are following right after him. And you have this crazy and silly action sequence happening on the water. They're swimming around. I gotta say, the animation is just spot on. It's beautiful. They're using a lot of these camera tricks and visual things that are helping you understand. There's like muddy and like blurry underwater, and they're trying to escape the monster. And of course, what pirate episode would be without a sunken ship? And we get a sunken spaceship, no less, which is, again, it suits the premise of the show, and it makes it at the same time fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So the friends escape, and now they got to make it back to the base because they want to rescue Jess. And I got to say, this is the highlight of the episode when our droids gets the idea along with John, and they say, aha, I know how we're going to infiltrate the pirate base. They basically snatch a couple of pirates, and you have droids dressed as pirates. Guys, how crazy is that? I never would imagine I would ever see that in my lifetime, like the Star Wars droids dressed as pirates. But you know what? It works. It's just plain fun. And you have to imagine yourself as a 6-year-old watching the show. Imagine what your first reaction could have been. Or if you possibly have seen it as a kid. I haven't. This is my first time watching it. Maybe you can give me your impression and leave the comment in the video below and let me know what was your first reaction as a kid. How cool was that to see our favorite droid star in a pirate show? And then we get to John, who commandeers a boat. And in the meantime, Jess is being not a princess in distress who is waiting to be rescued. She takes matters into her own hands. She basically splices the door jam, and she opens the door. She tries to escape. Of course, she's stopped by the captain and his henchmen, but she manages to get away still because she uses her wits. In the meantime, we also get another major, beautiful action sequence with John and droids escaping the pirates on the boat. And I really enjoyed the animation there, especially when they do splashes of water, when you see the boat maneuvering and doing different angles. I thought it was very effective and well done. Speaking from the perspective of an animator such as myself, technically speaking, it was quite a well-animated episode. And it makes me wonder, what could the show have possibly evolved into if we got 4 or 5 seasons of it? Because it looks like with each and every episode, the animation is getting better and better. And so Jess outwits Captain Kybo Rencha. We have the beautiful boat chase scene. And now we're back to space, where the pirates intend to use the Star Destroyer, which they call the Demolisher. And they want to do is destroy the barge. They're like, okay, if we're not going to have it, we're going to destroy it. But of course, they find out that it was a decoy all along. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to lure the pirates in. And I thought it was a pretty cool twist, especially once again for a younger audience. Like, aha, so our friends know what they're doing. They're not going to just send a barge full of fuel for the pirates to take over. They actually thought this plan through. And once on the Star Destroyer, again, we're treated to these really beautiful backgrounds with a lot of technology going on. And of course, R2-D2 comes through. He sabotages the Star Destroyer, and our friends escape and are managing to get the fuel to its destination where it needs to be. By the end of the episode, what do we get? We get the droid oil bath. It's something that we have seen in the original Star Wars movie. Remember episode 4, when Luke basically drenches both droids. He submerges them in that tank and then takes them out. Here, they're making it quite literal. It's an actual bath, and you have droids sitting in it, and they're actually playing around with toys. Again, you gotta be a child or put yourself in the perspective of a child to fully appreciate what's going on here. They're making it, Star Wars, accessible for an earlier generation. I imagine for those of you guys who were watching or grew up on Clone Wars, this is somewhat similar. Even though Clone Wars is intended for slightly younger audience, maybe like 12 and 13 or plus and stuff like that, because there are quite some dark moments happening here. This is for younger generation of kids, and I really appreciate the fact that it brings it along to the younger audience. It says, well, maybe your parents won't allow you to watch the original Star Wars because of the violence levels or for whatever reason, but you can watch this show here and still enjoy it. You could still have your fan favorites R2-D2 and C-3PO and experience them in that way. So what were some of the things I really enjoyed about this episode? It was definitely one of my favorites. I did not think there would be any other episodes in the show that would top the Boba Fett one. Actually, this one is also quite good. Again, and I think what makes it really special and fun is when you don't expect anything. You're not holding this show to be something special. You're not dictating. I was like, well, if it's a Star Wars show, it needs to hit ABCs and cover all those bases to be effective. You're just coming into it. You're enjoying it for what it is. So I really loved that it plays into that favorite childhood fantasy. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like myself, I was born and raised in Russia, or if you're from America, South America, Europe, doesn't matter where you come from. Pirates are always something romantic and cool and special. It's a very adventurous topic for kids. And I felt that this episode handles it flawlessly. It has plenty of good action. We get a space combat action scene. We get underground action sequence with John and the droids doing all the antics on the ground and Jess taking care of herself. But also underwater scene, which once again, I think this might be very well the first underwater action scene we see either in a Star Wars movie or a show, because it's an earlier show from 1985. Beautiful exotic location and just silly fun, which was enjoyable to watch. I got to give a major shout out to animators. I think they did an excellent job on this episode. I absolutely love the background work and detail on the show. All the attention to detail to all the technology, whether it's a spaceship terminal, stuff like this, or whether it's like a pirate base and you see underwater, like vegetation and stuff like this, or the sunken ship. It was very, very well done, and it really puts you in that place and makes you believe that you're in there. Once again, I really enjoyed the fact that Jess is introduced here. And, for a 1985 show, there's no tokenism. Like, oh, by the way, she's a girl. By the way, she's black. And we just want to have her in the show. There's none of that jazz in this show. She's just another great character who I gravitated towards from the beginning, the moment I saw her, because I think she's a very cool and interesting design. I tend to enjoy simpler looking outfits and costumes. And for her most signature look is her top crop hair. So for some reason, I really liked her. And this episode shows that she's capable. She stands on her own. It's not that she can accomplish everything without boys' help. They help each other, regardless. It's a unisex show, and boys help girls and vice versa. They're all friends, and everybody needs help in their desperate hour. And, this show in that level manages to bring everybody together and says, look, she's just as vital party member as anyone else in this particular episode. I love that she uses her brains, and I love that she can handle in her fight. And she's the one actually to outsmart the main villain in this particular episode. I also mentioned, of course, the beautiful artwork, background design, and animation. Everything was done here, and it makes me wonder, what are the rest of the episodes in the show going to look like? Are we going to get more of these episodes which really put you in the Star Wars universe with their exoticism and really cool special locations? It almost feels like for the design of this pirate base, they probably looked at a couple of Ralph McQuarrie concept designs, especially the ones that he did for Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. There's quite a few interesting paintings he did for Endor 4, the Endor moon where the Ewoks are. For some reason, I don't know why, even though it's a water planet, the way that the pirate lodges were positioned inside of the base, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Ewok settlements. Anyway, it was just an exotic, a cool looking design, and I'm really looking forward for the rest of the show. It actually, now it makes me kind of sad that it lasted only for one season, because I'm really beginning to enjoy it. Anyway, guys, I thought it was a fun episode. Not gonna score it, it's not that kind of show. I gotta say, I really liked it. It was probably one of the top tier episodes in this show. If you like this video, please consider supporting me. Please hit subscribe and hit that bell button so you could see my review of the future episodes. And I would love to hear from you guys. Is there anyone who was watching the show as a kid when it first aired on television? Maybe you had like a DVD or VHS tapes, cassettes of this show. What were your first impressions like? I would really like to know. And I'll see you next time, guys.